Good evening. Welcome to American Hammers TV, part of the American Hammers Network. We are back on Wednesday night, and it is a big Wednesday night. As of course, we have the second leg of the UEFA Europa League semifinal in Frankfurt tomorrow. I'm sure I didn't have to mention that to anybody who watches this channel. If you do watch this channel, if you're watching right now, if you watch this later on, please do us a big favor and like and subscribe. It really helps us a lot. It helps us pay for our streaming platform that we use. Helps us really keep the lights on. Really, is what we're doing. Nobody makes any money doing this, so we're just trying to keep it going. Along those same lines, if you go to ahtv.threadless.com, so American Hammers TV, ahtv.threadless, as in no threads.com. We have a whole gift shop there. You have Supporters Club merchandise. There's some West Ham merchandise. It's just West Ham branded. There's some American Hammers TV stuff. If you really want that sort of thing, you can get that too. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. T-shirt, anything you want, really. T-shirts, flags, decorative wall hangings for your home. So if your wife puts a Live, Laugh, Love sign up in the dining room, you can put an American Hammers TV picture next to it and sort of counter it with the misery of being a West Ham fan. But anyway, so check that out. Also, I'm gonna tell y'all again about my own little personal project for my buddy Ensa in the Gambia in West Africa. He has a youth club of footballers. He's the only coach, the only person running this club. He's got 70 kids in the club. They're all ages 15 and younger. So we've raised more than $1,000 for him so far. We've sent a lot of boots. We've sent pennies or bibs for training. We've sent balls. We've sent cones. We've sent a lot of stuff. But he needs. They're going to enter some tournaments pretty soon, and they need kits, and they don't really have proper kits for a tournament. So I want to try to raise enough to get them some claret and blue kits if we can find some, and either send them over or get them to them somehow. So I'm going to pop the link in here, and if you haven't donated, please consider it. I would obviously personally really appreciate it. Ensign would appreciate it. He's 16 years old. He's a very hardworking kid. He's living in one of the poorest countries in the world, and he's trying to give these kids a chance to play. So I also can tell you that there's some Villa fan who's doing the same thing I'm doing, and there's an Aston Villa, the Gambia club. So I really don't want to be outraised money-wise, out fundraised by somebody from Villa. So if you guys could support a fellow Hammer a little bit here, support me, support Insa, that'd be great. He calls the whole club West Ham the Gambia. He's converting these kids one by one to being West Ham fans, which may be a felony. It may be cruel, but it means they're all gonna be part of our family. So if you guys could think about that, that would be great. Oh my goodness, we got visitors from Frankfurt already. I've heard it's gotten real over there already with some of our supporters and their supporters. Frankfurt's a little bit of a tough city, from what I understand. So I hope you stay safe. And yes, this is a good idea. Actually, yeah, I should do that. That's a great idea. In fact, I will do that. I'll send him some materials. I mean, he's got all these kids. They train all the time. Obviously at his young age, I doubt he's got any experience or training as a coach. It's just something he's doing. He's put together. So yes, this is a fantastic idea. I will do this. Love that idea. Thank you. Anyway, so we're going to have a crowd coming in and out tonight. We might have a couple more people join us. We might not. I don't know. We'll find out. But for right now, for the first time in a very, very long time, I'm pointing in the right direction. For the first time in a very long time, from the city of broad shoulders, from Chicago, Illinois, one of my favorite cities, it's Casey. How are you, Casey?
How you doing, buddy? It's good. I'm happy to be here.
What's the beverage you got going there?
It's just it makes me sound like an ass. Pinot Noir from Willamette Valley.
Sounds great. Why would
It's great.
That sounds delightful. That's fantastic. I would like it makes you sound like an ass at all.
The end of a long Wednesday.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I understand that. They got a longer day coming up tomorrow. And of course, down here on the bottom of the screen, as he has been recently with me, it's Scott from Reno. How are you, Scott?
I'm good.
So I would like to if it's all the same to you, probably not talk too much about Arsenal because I don't feel as though we really put a lot of effort into that game anyway. It's pretty clear that we've sort of, you know, backed off on the starting 11 the last couple of weeks in order to focus on Europe, and didn't really work all that well in the first leg. But we have all to play for in the second leg. Down a goal, but we've got 90 minutes to equalize basically and not concede. So I'm just one thing I want to do, if you guys don't mind for a second, is kind of review last Thursday's game, uh, which could not have started worse, could not possibly have started worse. But I want to get your perspective on something, and Scott, I want to start with you because you said something last week. Now you're a former coach, high school coach, and I believe a successful one, if I'm not mistaken.
We're pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, so you know what you're talking about. You said something last week about the players playing within themselves. And I kind of felt as though Thursday's match, the occasion was a little too big for our players. They looked shaky. They gave up a goal right off within the first minute. I felt as though they weren't actually up to the occasion. And all that you said last week about the players playing within themselves, not getting overwhelmed by the occasion, that didn't happen. I thought they got very overwhelmed by it. Did you sense the same thing?
Yeah, I think Frankfurt came out and did exactly what I would do in that situation too. Is I want to push for an early goal because I want to make my opponent wobble. I want them to
Yeah.
doubt everything they're going to do. So I think exactly what you're supposed to do. You want to, if you can go out, that's why when you watch, I love the first 10 minutes of a Premier League match, right? Because
Yeah.
both teams are attacking back and forth, trying to get that quick one. And then it starts to slow down and it's more of a chess match after that. But they came out and did exactly what they needed to do. And I honestly think it's such a simple thing to say, right? Harder to execute. If we had just sent crosses away from the keeper, right? How many times did he come and collect a cross? Whether that was a corner, and he was really stretching like how far he was coming, right? So I just keep putting him right in those stretch areas, but we were just sending him right into a six, and he was dominating us in the air. So if we just slid that out and just kept making him come, he's going to make a mistake. And theoretically, that would have been enough to equalize for us.
Well, we hit the post, 3 times?
Yeah.
Now, Bowen's effort right at the end would have been a spectacular goal. So, that's it's hard to fault him for, hitting the post on that bicycle kick. That's just that's a Hail Mary of a play there, really.
Lee,
But
can I ask Scott a question real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Scott, with that, the way you're talking about putting those crosses at the far post or out of his area, I think that, and I'd love your thoughts on. I think that Ben Johnson is just he's not a very forward-thinking fullback, and with that, I don't think he's very good at crossing the ball, and I think that's probably limiting us to put those crosses in the box. Not to mention, not necessarily always having. Since we play with these we play with inverted wingers a lot, and we play with Antonio playing the 9 where he's trying to hold up the play and kind of more of a traditional 9 where he's holding up the ball and trying to lay it off. I don't necessarily think we have people in the box all the time to be able to put crosses in.
Both of those points are completely accurate. I don't think Johnson is a very good crosser of the ball. I think that's a yet statement. I think that just develops. He's young. When he first started starting games, I was the first one to be on him because the first 4 matches, he looked scared to death every time he touched the ball. It was like, where's the quickest place I can kick this away? And he slowly started to get, he's got confidence and he's in that position where now, and I think the crossing comes after another year of work. And what I mean by that is summer of work. But yeah, I think all too often, because we're trying to counter, I think all too often we have maybe one person in the box anyway that's chasing a cross. So the cross has to be dead on. And that's why I think we needed to take advantage of our corners a whole lot more than we did.
That's part of the reason I'm looking forward to Safal playing tomorrow, because I think he's better. I think he's a better all-around fullback. Obviously, he should be at, I think, 29 versus 22 or whatever Johnson is. But I think in general he's better at defending and going forward than any of our other fullbacks, whereas Johnson's better sitting off the ball or waiting back and covering for whatever happens in that back right position, whereas Fredericks is better going forward. But even Fredericks isn't great at crossing the ball. He's just really, really fast. But I hope that kind of helps us. I don't mean to spotlight another forum for a lot of this stuff, but KUMB's podcast today had a really great point. They were, their new podcast they just came out with. They do a lot of stuff breaking down tactical, the kids they have, and I say kids.
Oh, they're friends of ours. They're good guys. They're friends of ours. So yeah.
I think they're very young. I don't know much about them, but I've been listening to their new podcast.
Is that Jack Elderton? Is he on there?
Yes.
That guy's fantastic. If you follow him on Twitter, Jack Elderton on Twitter, same guy, absolutely brilliant analysis of these games, and he will break it down. He'll go 40 and 50 tweets. He'll break it down like every 2 minutes, and it's
he's like the Swiss Ramble, but for like tactical,
exactly.
Swiss Ramble's like a financial Twitter, but they broke it down, and he was talking about one of them were talking about how pissed off they were at that game because they were like in their podcast previewing Frankfurt, they were like, this is exactly what's going to happen. In the first couple minutes, they're going to try to switch the ball and put the ball at the far corner from across because they do that every single time. And what happened in the first minute, that's exactly what happened. They bring the ball out and they try to catch you off because it's the first minute. It's almost like I don't want to call it a set play, but it's kind of like running a play in basketball. They knew what they were going to do from kickoff, and they went and did it. And the problem was that we just let it happen. And he was talking about how he was pissed off at the coaching staff because he's like, if I was coaching the team, this is the last thing that I would tell them leaving the dressing room, like, look out for this. It's going to happen in the first couple minutes because they're going to get set and they're going to try to attack us from that point on. And they have really good wingers that can cross the ball really well. Kostick is really good. I forget the other kid's name, but yeah, it definitely sucked the first 5 minutes of that game.
Well, I mean, I think you're absolutely right that tactically and sort of strategically we weren't ready, and you're absolutely right. Again, you're right about Jack Elderton. The guy's fantastic. How he's not in some position in football, I don't know, but I'm happy to have him on Twitter and on KUMB for the time being. I think that was probably the biggest factor. But I also feel as though, and I know this is a less sort of concrete thing to talk about, but I do feel as though our players, they just seemed a little overwhelmed right at the beginning, a little overwhelmed. And I'm not sure they ever totally recovered. I mean, I know we equalized. I know we created some chances, hit the post a few times, 3 times, I think. But, that goal in the first minute just sucked the life out of the fans. It seemed to suck the life out of the players. And all that atmosphere and everything that we've talked about so much over the last few weeks, like against Sevilla in the second leg or against Lyon in the first leg, it just went away. And all of a sudden there was this kind of shell of a ground there with a bunch of shell-shocked players. And it even though statistically we dominated that match in terms of possession and other sort of metrics, it never felt that way to me. I don't know how you felt about it.
I mean, I think I don't know what the XG was on that game, and I'm not going to sit here and preach and actually like break down.
It was something like 3-1 to us. When I saw it after the match.
With XG is like, if you look at, so we talk about hitting the post, right? And we talk about hitting the crossbar, but the XG of the 2 goals that we had couldn't have been great. I mean, it's an overhead kick from basically from what I think was a corner. And then it was Ben Rama just picking up the ball and just spanking the shit out of it and hoping that it hit something, and it did.
Yeah.
And either of those goals would have been contenders for goal of the tournament.
Right.
I mean, it was just you're right. The thing is, it's hard. Is like, did the occasion go to their heads from kickoff, or did it go to their heads because they conceded within the first 60 seconds of a game, and then they're like, "Oh shit, we have to."
I don't know.
You tend to try hard at that point because I can't assume that the match was too much bigger than playing Leon. Like I think that in playing away in Leon, where we scored 3, we went 3-1.
Right.
What's a bigger occasion? What's harder?
I think you wouldn't think it would have been. And first of all, I want to welcome Matt down here.
Hey,
Matt, how's it going?
good. How are you?
I'm okay. Matt's my neighbor. He lives in Boston, but like me, he's not a Boston guy originally. Not that it matters, but where you're somewhere? Are you in the city?
No, I'm in Amesbury, Mass.
Amesbury. That's right. You're up north. Okay, yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
you're not too far from me. I live in Chelmsford, so we're both north of Boston, where all the sophisticates live. There's a big divide between north of Boston and south of Boston.
I lived on so I'm from New Jersey originally, but I lived on the South Shore for like 10 years. So I feel a little bit of both worlds.
Yeah, you get it. You understand.
I like the North. I do like the North Shore better though, which is controversial.
I like the North Shore better too, but I don't dislike the South Shore the way some people do.
Same.
I don't think it's that bad.
I
But
just
there's
don't
a
like.
real.
I don't like Route 3. That's
Well, I live right on Route 3 actually. Believe it or not.
well, you live on the north.
But I
north
live on
version.
exactly not
Yeah.
the Route 3 that goes by the gas
Not
tank.
the
that's always-
bottleneck on the South Shore.
Exactly. My Route 3 is bad, but it's not that bad.
No,
Now
it's not.
the Route 3 down was where you headed down toward the Cape. That's brutal.
It's terrible.
Anyway, we were just talking about last week's the first leg of the Frankfurt tie, and discussing giving up the goal in the first minute when we didn't really look ready for what a lot of people probably saw coming tactically from them, but also we were talking about did the players seem not to rise to the occasion? Do they seem a little bit overwhelmed? Do they seem a little bit not ready for the stage they were on?
Yeah. Do you mind if I jump in?
No, it's I'm asking
I
you.
don't know. We've got. I mean, they've gotten off to slow starts a lot this season, and a lot last season too. It seems like, and just not gotten punished for it several times. I think
Yeah.
really it came down to Fornals fell asleep. Nobody was totally ready for that. The rest of the game, I thought West Ham were great.
that's a
I
good
mean, they were clearly the better team through the rest of the match, and it was the XG would back up that it was just pretty much a bad luck loss. Like they
It was
deserved
like
to get out of there
3-1.
at
The
least.
XG was like 3. We were just talking about it. It was like 3-1 to West Ham. Yeah.
It was pretty intense. I mean, they really worst case should have been out of there 2-2, and best case probably, like you said, 3-1. So I don't know. Frankfurt were a little lucky. They were a little lucky in other rounds too this tournament. So that doesn't tell me that it's a guarantee that West Ham are better tomorrow, but we'll see. Look, I've really enjoyed these Thursday nights. I'm not going to lie.
I have
to you.
too.
So it's like
all of them.
if it's gonna end in the semifinal, it's gonna end in the semifinal. It's definitely gonna. I'm not going to be as positive about it tomorrow if they lose, but at the same time, it's like these Thursday nights have been such a blast. I'm glad I got to experience it.
Oh, I was miserable as shit last Thursday.
Well,
Same.
it's our last. Either way, it's the last Thursday of the competition because the final is on a Wednesday. If we do make the final, it's on a Wednesday. So,
Which also annoys me.
well, weird, right? Because you would think that if it's on Thursday all the way through, why don't you just play the final on a Thursday? But anyway, I can't tell you how UEFA works in that sense. I think your point about Fornals is really good. By the way, Ken wants to know where'd you live in Jersey?
Oh, I sorry, I just saw that. I'm from. I lived in Montclair and then Flemington, New Jersey, are the two places I've lived.
Those sound like nice places.
Yeah, Flemington's
Jersey. I don't know Jersey all that well, but
New Jersey, to describe it, is like a giant Venn diagram. So there's North Jersey, South Jersey, and then kind of that weird crossover area, Central Jersey. And Central Jersey is real. South Jersey's like an extension of Philly. North Jersey's like an extension of New York. And
whoa! Let's not lump South Jersey and Philly together. Dear God.
It's kind of true. I mean, I went to a wedding down there many years ago. I was in a wedding down there many years ago, kind of in that middle area. I don't remember the name of the town, but it was very nice. It was a very nice area. It's beautiful, like where Tony Soprano lives.
Yeah,
really beautiful.
Flemington's like where all the at least when I grew up. I mean, I've been in Boston area since 2004, but like,
see, there you go.
Oh,
there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been in the Boston area for since 1997 and a few years in France, and then I came back. So, but yeah, there's parts of New Jersey that are very nice. People don't see them, realize they're there, but. Anyway, I think your point about Fornals is good. We all love Pablo Fornals. He's been generally great for us this year. Not so great last week. Not great. And I'm wondering. We talked earlier about Ben Johnson, and we all know he doesn't go forward all that well. but he's a better defender probably than Sufal. So I'm wondering, do you guys make changes? I mean, do you put Sufal in for Johnson? Keeping in mind, we do have to score and score first if we want to have a chance to get through this thing. However, they are a counterattacking team the way we are. They are going to sit and try to hit us on the counter, so we have to be solid defensively. Do you guys go in with Sufal over Johnson? Do you think about Ben Rama in for Fornals? What's your feeling on? Let me start with those two positions, maybe.
I never say start Ben Rama over Fornals. I've watched enough games this year where he just pisses the ball away, trying to do something cute as opposed to being effective, and it drives me insane. And as a coach, that would have, that's the easiest. Everyone sees the most subbed player, Ben Rama. It's because of plays like that where then he just stops and he's like, oh well, I gave up the ball. So I don't think that's ever a change I would make. I do think that because we have to get the goal, I think we have to make that change and take Johnson out and put Sufal in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the consensus. What do you think, Casey?
I think Johnson's with a thigh strain, so he may not play anyway.
Oh, so he may not play. Okay, I didn't realize
that's
that.
why he didn't play in the Arsenal game. I think he had a thigh or he had some sort of muscle injury. So I think Sufal will play. I would prefer Sufal over him anyway. I agree with Scott, though. I think Fornals had a bad game. I mean, I think the worst player on the pitch last Thursday was Johnson. I just don't think he was up for it. I think he may have been one of the people that kind of had the occasion rise to him. Be a little too
he's
high
young,
for him.
right? He's young. He's, what is he,
He's
21?
like 21, 22 years old. I don't blame him.
And he doesn't actually have that much experience. I know that sounds funny to say, but this is the first season when he's been a regular in the team.
Yes, and I think, but my point really being is that I think that we have to go Sufal no matter what. I think Sufal. I think it's kind of one of those things where we talk about Johnson being a good defender, we talk about Fredericks being good going forward. I think Sufal is the best mix of the two. But I think the best crosser of the ball out of all three of them is Sufal. He's just not as fast as Fredericks. As far as Fornals for Ben Rama, I mean, I think that it's such a not like for like substitution.
Yeah, I know.
I think that Ben Rama adds something off the bench just because there's two things about Ben Rama. One, I think he's great off the bench because I think he has the ability to make things happen. The problem is if you bring him off the bench when we're 1-0 down or we need a goal, I think he tries too hard, which means that he puts too much on his shoulders, which means he plays too many tricks with the ball. He tries to flick it on too much. He tries to do things that are more the level of football intelligence needed to do it is higher than those around them. Than those around him. I think he has the physical attributes to do it. I don't necessarily think he has the vision to do some of the things he tries to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he may come off the bench and try a shot from 25 yards and it ping off the crossbar. So I think he's going to be better off the bench. One thing I will say is I really hope, because I don't know how many people here remember how much shit Fornals got when he first got here. I'm really hoping that I hope that Vlasic settles the same way that Fornals has, because I do think Vlasic is a good player. Yeah. And we here in Chicago, we referenced him as the pickle man, and I will always enjoy that. So,
well, that's how I talk about him too, right? Because Vlasic pickles,
exactly.
That's the greatest pickle I ever heard. The old Vlasic commercials. But I don't think they had those in the UK, so nobody named.
They don't, so that's why it's really funny here.
Yeah, nobody gets it. But we all know those. We all remember those. Yeah.
But yeah, I think Fornals, I think Sufal, I think the rest of the team picks itself. I think it's the back four of Cresswell, Zuma, Dawson, Sufal.
Now there's real talk in the chat room, and at first I thought it was a joke.
I did too.
But there seems to be real talk about Fredericks at right back. I mean, he does have pace.
See, the problem is that you're talking about Fredericks against Caustic, and Caustic is they play 3 at the back and 5 wide, But the problem is that Caustic really isn't a defender. He's a winger that they play at wing back, and so I get it from the standpoint of saying, hey, we have pace. I don't know about physicality because Fredericks is made of glass, but
he's not a bruiser.
but like
No.
defensively, he's not going to be able to do shit against an extremely creative wingback. So I think that's where Soufal is a good mixture of the two. But I don't know.
I think Soufal. I mean, he's got to be our best attacking option at right back, right? I mean,
He hasn't been healthy either, so it's sort of like we've kind of seen limited since he's come back from that hernia surgery or whatever it was, groin surgery. He's kind of been limited in the sense we haven't seen a ton of him, but when he's been out there, he's looked like his old self. So I
think he looked good Sunday, and from what I understand, again, listening to KUMV, they talked about how his wife, he was in so much pain halfway through the season, his wife literally had to pick him up out of bed.
He said that on Twitter or Instagram or somewhere on social. Yeah, that he couldn't get out of bed on his own. So I mean, hopefully he's recovering, and he's going to be able to. I just think we need his influence. As Epic Hashtime says, we need his crosses. We have to score. We have to go forward. He's a competent defender, but right now, we need somebody who can get us going forward. And as you mentioned earlier, get those crosses in, just ping them in over and over again, because I think they'll have trouble again with Antonio. I don't think Frankfurt. I don't think they are accustomed to dealing with that type of player. I think you saw it to some extent last week. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful. They don't have a lot of players like that in Germany, in my opinion. So, I think if he will not drift out wide, which he loves to do because he's really a winger, if he'll stay, in the box, I think he can have a big influence. We just got to get the service to him. This is. I mean, I feel as though this happens all the time.
But again, that goes back to the way we play. I mean, when you play with two inverted wingers, when you play with two wingers that literally, so if you're on your right, you're playing one's on his foot, or if you want to go with Yarmolenko on his foot, you want to go Fornals on the left. I think Fornals is right-footed. I think Benrahma's right-footed. The problem is you're never going to have that many people hugging. They don't hug the touchline, and they don't go forward. So what you're asking is like, okay, we need Cresswell to hug the touchline and put a ball in, which he's really good at.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if we have a right-sided fullback that can do the same, but that's just not really their strong suit. So what you're asking is like, this is why we never have a player in the box, which it blows my mind, but it's just kind of how it is. It's Antonio drop deeper to get the ball from midfielder defense, hold the ball up so that you have your wingers on either side that can cut in and he can pass the ball off to them, or you're passing it out wide to one of your fullbacks for the cross. And then it kind of screws us up because we don't have anybody in the box. So I don't know.
Right. Well, that's always been a problem for us. And, again, I mean, it's hard to fit Antonio. It's still hard, even though he scored a lot of goals for us. He's been a really good player for us. Antonio's still a square peg in a round hole as a striker. He's not a natural striker. He never has been. And he doesn't have that instinct, that sort of fox in the box type instinct. I don't know. Matt, Scott, what do you guys think?
I mean, what's going to happen. We'll talk this ad nauseum, but Moise is going to roll out the same lineup. And, I'm okay with it. It's worked for us this far. And it's just whenever there's all this talk of, let's go three at the back or let's do all these different things, it always ends up just being, Moise rolls out the same lineup. And so far it's worked pretty well. I do agree, though, Soufal. I want to see Soufal back there at right back. He's looked good in the limited action since he's been back from his injury. So I would like to see him. It's just Johnson hasn't really put a foot wrong. I mean, he doesn't have that attacking presence going forward, but you don't really see guys dribble past him too often. He always finds himself kind of in the right spot. I mean, so it's tough to drop him at the same time.
Well, let me ask you this tactically. We're going to be out of our comfort zone. Tim says, score goals and set up attacking, let the attack be our defense. It's a great idea. It's just that's not what we do. that's not David Moyes' style. David Moyes' style is the counterattack. It's also Frankfurt's style. I think it's one of the reasons why we struggled with them. It's why we struggle with Brighton and Burnley and all these clubs that do the same thing in the Premier League. Even if they don't have necessarily the talent we have, we do better when the opponent says, "I'm coming after you," and we're able to absorb that pressure and then hit them on the counter. Frankfurt, they don't have to do that. They can go out. I mean, if they really want to, they can put 10 men behind the ball, and go and hit us on the counter all day tomorrow. So, how do we make that transition from counterattacking to going on the attack, sort of more intentionally? I guess.
Scott,
it's going to be more about how we set up, though. Like if we're using again, every system is exactly the same, right? It's just where your midfielders are rotating, right? Because your three backs are essentially five because your wingers are playing deep, whatever. But it's all about how we set up offensively, right? So there have been times where we've set up, it looks the exact same way to counterattack as we set up to possess, right? So we're playing Burnley and we know we can possess the ball around them, but we haven't made any what look like tactical changes. And those tactical changes involve getting your striker high, playing the ball wide, and move the ball quickly. And again, when you're coaching at a level, right, we would teach our guys, just because they give you time doesn't mean you should dribble the ball and slow it down. We always trained pace, right? So we had drills. We would scrimmage where if nobody scored in 3 minutes, everybody was running. Right, like we were that.
I'm going to try that on my third and fourth graders.
To do speed.
I'm going to try that on my third and fourth graders the next practice. see how the 8 and 9 and 10-year-olds like it. For 3 minutes.
I have a question for you from a coaching standpoint and from a tactical standpoint. One of the things I noticed that when we play, this kind of goes back to somebody was talking about City earlier, just the idea of triangles, which I know is like one of the most simplistic ideas in soccer, right? It's literally you play in Pythagorean theorem. You're literally just playing in triangles. You keep things tight. The biggest difference between us and say a team like City, outside of the money, the oil money, the state money, and the glorious players they have,
right,
is we never seem to play in tight triangles, and I think that's because I would assume that's because we're creating space to be able to hit on the break. But why is it so hard for us to be able to play in tighter triangles, to play tighter passing movements? Is that just down to the idea of Moyes and idea of playing on the counter and on the break?
I think we've played out of the back more often this year because when we used to play out of the back, I would scream and yell and put my head under a pillow, right? I didn't want to see us, but I've seen us play out of the back this year in triangles.
Yeah.
And it looks great. The backs are all working and Declan's moving and everything's going great. But once we get outside, all we're doing is we're either pinging the ball forward to go behind or we're pinging the ball wide. And very rarely are we trying to possess the ball in that center section where your triangles are important, right? So if we're just trying to slot a guy in behind, we're not supporting him anyway. And when we slot him in, one guy's got to come in to help him support, and your other guy's got to come in. There's your triangle, right? But we don't seem to do that quick enough.
Well, because we're basically playing nothing but through balls instead of playing balls to feet, and that's kind of our issue, right? So, if we once we get, it's okay to do that playing out of the back when no one's pressing you. But once we get into that midfield and that final third, we never play triangles, and that's kind of what pisses me off because we never keep possession that way.
Yep.
We're always just playing the through ball and hoping someone latches onto the ball rather than playing to feet, and then you have other options around them, which isolates our players to the point where it's like, well, shit, no shit, you can press us because there's no one else around him to pass the ball to.
Right. Through balls.
And again, going back to Benrahma, he sees that, and I get it. I fault him so often, but he sees it. He puts that pressure on himself, I think, a lot when he knows, nobody's supporting me. And unfortunately, the times where he does that are actually times where guys are coming in to support him. I don't think he looks up and grasps the whole concept of what's going on around him. I think he gets himself so quickly focused in on what he needs to do that he doesn't take into account everything else going on.
Yeah, I mean, I like Benrahma coming off the bench in general, just because I think his trickery and all that stuff works a little better when everybody's got 65, 70 minutes on their legs.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think we play out the back and do the triangle thing very well when we're playing out of another team's press. But you're right.
Yes.
When we get more into that attacking third, they kind of stop doing it. It's
every goal we score is either on a set piece or a through ball. I mean, if you think about it's rare that we score from sustained possession. It's fairly rare that we score from distance unless it is an actual free kick. It's usually, it's well, if it's from distance, it's because it's just come up Route 1 down the center of the pitch, right? I mean, it's set pieces and through balls. We're going to have to, I think, tomorrow find a way to, as we were talking about, sustain possession, get crosses in, get players in front of goal. I think we're going to have to do that, and that's not how we do things. We like the spectacular, goal that comes out of the back, the through ball. But I think we have to play more of a possession-based game. I think the best I've ever seen West Ham play, maybe ever, was in that second leg against Sevilla.
yes.
And I think if we could put that in, even better than against Lyon, by the way, the Lyon 3-0 was fantastic. But I actually thought the second leg against Sevilla, where we had to come out and score, we had to, where our backs were against the wall, that's probably the best West Ham performance I've ever seen. And I think if we can play like that again, we have a chance tomorrow, a good chance tomorrow.
I would agree. The Sevilla game they played well from pretty much start to finish. I mean, even they probably should have won that game in regulation. But
yes, I agree.
But
yeah,
Lyon, there was a little more luck factor involved, which I will absolutely take tomorrow.
yeah.
So I think one of the biggest players is going to be Lanzini, and he's kind of had a few not so great games possessing the ball in the midfield lately.
Yeah.
But in the second leg against Lyon, like, he marked Ndombele and pretty much took him out of the game. And he had just been a monster in the first leg. So I don't know. I think whatever adjustments Moyes makes will probably have a lot to do with Lanzini staying back and also being just kind of an important piece. And hopefully he has a better game than he's had lately, because he's had a few kind of clunkers.
We're all a little bit out of form. I think our players are all a little bit out of form. And I'm wondering too, I have very much been on the bandwagon of saying, let's rest our players for Premier League games, which we basically did against Chelsea and Arsenal for the most part. Didn't put out our strongest starting 11 because we're in the semifinal now, and we're only a few games away from a trophy. So we're 2 games now if we can win tomorrow. But I wonder if it broke their rhythm a little bit. I mean, not that they were playing well in the league, because they really weren't. We weren't getting results in the league. But there seemed to be a kind of at least cohesion to, we play every Sunday, we play every Thursday, and the Thursday performances were very solid. And then we rested players for Chelsea, and then we came out on Thursday and looked a little disheveled. It just didn't look, and I don't know if that had anything to do with breaking a rhythm, breaking a routine.
I don't necessarily know if we can say that we truly rested a lot of players against Arsenal, and the reason I say that is because our back four was makeshift because it had to be makeshift.
Yeah, because Dawson was out. Yeah,
Dawson was out, and then Ben Johnson was also out injured.
Yeah,
I do understand that we changed up the midfield a little bit, but at the same time, we've also had, Rice has played every game for the last what feels like 5 years.
He's rare, only missed games for us because of suspension or injury, and it's been rare. Yeah, very.
And
rare.
I just want to. Somebody said it. NH Hammer. I just want to point this out because I think this is a very good point. I've been watching this damn team for almost 17 years. We are the worst team at throw-ins I've ever seen in my entire life. Excuse my French, I do not understand how the fuck a professional football team does not understand how to throw the ball in.
Every time, this is Ken, my buddy Ken up in New Hampshire. Every time we watch a game together, we say the same thing. Every single throw-in is a lost ball. It's just.
But it's not even the same manager. Like, literally for 17 years we have done the same shit where we do not understand how to throw the ball in.
It's different.
It is absolutely infuriating.
It's different players, it's different managers, it's different owners. But it's
it's insane.
Something about putting on the badge Don't know how to throw the ball in. Can't do it. You should never lose possession. You should never lose possession on a throw in. That's outrageous. That's like a little mini set piece. I mean, you're supposed to reset and rebuild from that, not immediately give the ball away. So that's just a fundamental that I don't know how we're not better at that. And as you said, Casey, you're absolutely right. It's a problem that's been a West Ham problem now for, going on 2 decades at least, which we've never resolved. So somehow, I don't get that either. I mean, this is a question from Kieran. I mean, Moyes is going to play it because you know who Moyes. You can already name Moyes' starting 11 in all likelihood, but I mean, he scored the equalizer in the Sevilla tie, and he's scored some big goals for us over the years, but he's had a rough season. He hasn't been great lately. I mean, is there any thought of not playing Souček? And what else would you do? Would you put Mark Noble in his place? Would you put? I mean, if we didn't play him, what would you do?
I think that, and I'll ask the question to the group. That's your point. Who comes in?
It has to be Noble, doesn't it? I mean, who else could it be? Unless you, I mean,
he played well against Arsenal, but I mean, who else? You don't play Krall because I just
gone.
don't even.
He's gone. No, I know we're not going to do this. Krall is clearly a bust, and he's on loan, and we'll see the back of him soon, for whatever reason.
We're not. Souček's not getting benched, but I mean, I look at Souček this way. He's Moyes' Moyes needs to find a Fellaini wherever he goes, and he's the West Ham Fellaini. So it's that's just how it is. He's not benching him.
No, I don't think he will either. He's not benching him, and he won't. He'll play 90 minutes. There's been some talk about him. There's been some talk about him leaving, about other clubs being interested in him, and I don't know if that stuff is ever true. Anything you read in the British press is usually not true. I mean, would you sell Souček, and how much would you take for him if you were to sell him?
I don't think we can sell anyone because I don't think we have a big enough squad to sell someone and replace him. We already have to replace 6 to 7 players or something.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously this would have to be part of a bigger program of recruitment, right? I mean, but if somebody came in, the figures I've seen have been like £40 million.
I think 40 to 45 is about right.
That's kind of a lot of money for, I mean, again, how old is he? 27, something like that? 28? How old is he? I can't remember.
He was 26, I think. But
is he that young?
And we've also paid. We only paid.
It's 27. Yeah, 27.
27.
Yeah.
I think we paid with loan fee plus actual fee, it's somewhere between 16 and 17 million. So I think 40 and 45 is about what his talent level would. I think that you could argue is worth it. But at the same time, the big thing is that I don't see how we can sell him this summer because I just don't see. One, we have him. I think we have him on enough years that we could sell him in January of next year or whatever. But
yeah,
I just don't. We have to replace 6 to 7 players. That's just insane.
If we could replace him with Phillips, I think Kieran's got a point here. I do. Of course, that's going to cost us a lot more. That's not an even trade. I mean, Phillips is going to be £60-70 million player probably.
Calvin Phillips, yeah.
Calvin Phillips, yes, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So sell Souček for 45 million and then offer 85% of what Phillips is worth and say we tried. Just kidding.
Sounds about right.
You went to the David Sullivan School of Transfers, but you forgot the part about trying to get him on loan. That's the most important part.
Well, no, that's when you have a deal in place. Then you go back and try to get him on loan again.
You've agreed a fee, and you say, actually, you know what? I'd really rather have him on loan. I want him on loan instead. That's the David Sullivan School of Football Management. Yes, you're absolutely right.
I don't think we would sell him. I mean, I don't see any reason why, especially he actually had a pretty high. I saw his valuation much higher than that after last season. So it's kind of down now. But also, he's so important to the team.
27 is basically the prime of his career, to be fair. I mean, it's not like he's 32. He's still right at the age where you want a footballer to be. So if you ever were going to sell him, now would be the time to sell him, if that makes sense.
I think you can get one more year because I think that
I would take one more.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I'm just looking at his age when he turned
February. Yeah.
So he'll be 28 by next February. If you need to move him on, you can do so in January. But I just don't. I honestly just don't see how we. I don't see how we field a team next year at the moment because we're not a club that goes out and buys six to eight players. A lot of people talk about bringing Areola in permanently. I read today, which I already knew he was on a hell of a lot of wages. His wages extremely high.
Yes.
So I saw something today saying he would want like 125, and he would maybe be the highest paid player at our club. I think he's probably on like between 70 and 90 right now with what we pay to him, because I think his wages are subsidized by PSG. This is all. I have nothing to go on other than like video games and something else. But
yeah, stuff like that.
He'd still be the highest paid goalkeeper in our history, and I just don't see how we bring him in, which means we need to replace a goalkeeper. We need a left back. We need a striker. We need midfield players. I just have no idea how we replace all these in the summer.
Well, I think one of the points you're getting to, and I promised myself I wouldn't talk about this, but it's worth bringing it up. The idea that we should have strengthened in January. I think we all agree that we should have strengthened in January. Okay. However, easier said than done. All right. January is an expensive time to buy players. And as you said, we need a lot of players. I mean, striker comes to mind. Left back comes to mind because Cresswell's not getting any younger. But then we ran out of center backs all of a sudden, and I don't think anybody saw that coming. I don't think anybody was. We had Zuma. We bought Zuma. I don't think anybody was clamoring for a center back. All of a sudden, we need a center back, and now there's talk about is Souček's form declining? I mean, if we were to actually, what I think bothers me most. Everybody wants this, and I want us too, obviously, to win Europa League, be a Champions League club. But there's no way we come remotely close to competing in Champions League next season unless we overhaul the squad.
But even if you overhaul, I mean, you can only really replace like so many players per transfer window before you just have a bunch of dudes who've never played together before. Just
exactly, and we won't spend the money to do it anyway. We never spend the money to do it anyway. But how many Champions League caliber players do we have? Probably like 3, like Rice, Zuma, and maybe Bowen.
But think about it from the financial aspect. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to look at this again because I don't know. It's been a while. But like, if we win the Europa League, I believe you get into the Champions League proper. I
believe that's correct. Yes. Yep.
So
straight in. Yep.
So put it this way: if we were to win this, which I think is still a stretch, because I think Leipzig is a very good team, and I think that we still have a mountain to climb tomorrow. And not to be pessimistic, because I want to believe that we could ultimately win it.
Yeah.
The money that it brings into the club, just playing in the group stages, and then we get knocked out, and we ultimately end up in the Europa League. It's a win-win. Whether or not we can actually field a team that is going to make a go of it, if we can end third in the group and end in the Europa League, I mean, we're still in the Europa League. So
that would be fine. Because there's 2 thoughts I have. One, we've proven we can compete in Europa League. I don't consider our run in Europa League to have been easy. Sevilla,
not at all.
Champions, a Champions League caliber club. Lyon, a lot of European experience, and multiple Champions League appearances and runs. And then you have Eintracht, who all they've done this season is go to Seville and beat Betis, go to Barcelona and beat Barcelona, and now they've beaten us in London. So they've, their run has been fantastic. So it hasn't been easy at all. And if we do get through tomorrow, it won't be easy going forward. But I mean, I'm kind of with you. I Champions League, the big talking point is always, well, how do we keep Declan Rice? And I have always felt, and I still feel, as though when Declan Rice is ready to leave, he will go to a club that can win Champions League, not just one that's in it, but one that can win it. A club like a Manchester City, although I know they lost today, I realize that, but still, you understand what I'm saying. A club like a Manchester City, or maybe a Chelsea even, but a club that has a real shot of winning Champions League. He's not going to stay with us just because we qualified. When he's ready to go, he's going to go to a mega club. He's going to go to a European giant. So, I'm not as worried about that, I guess, as most people are.
I'd love to see him go. I hate to say it. I'd love to see him go to Real Madrid or some club out of the Premier League.
Oh, that's exactly how I feel.
That's the same with me. I think the best team that would be amazing for him to go to is Bayern.
I would love to see him leave the Premier League, and then I could be a Declan Rice fan for the rest of my life. Because what I really dread is him, coming in and with Manchester City and just bossing us at the London Stadium as a Manchester City player. And then because he is who he is, he'll applaud our fans and all. He'll do the gentlemanly thing, but it's still going to hurt. So yeah, I'd love to see him leave England. I'd love to see him leave England, but there seems to be a real, sort of focus on him. And I don't think it really matters. I just, yeah, I don't think it matters, whether we qualify for Champions League or not. I know that sounds funny, but again, when he's ready to go, he's going to go to some place, he's going to go to one of the 3 or 4 biggest clubs in Europe, I think.
Going back to your statement on the press, Lee, what I was reading today was that Rice is going to turn down offers from the big clubs.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
So that's what's going on. I mean, I think even X said that.
Yeah, and that would be fantastic. I mean, listen, ideally, if we don't win Europa League, and it's going to, we have a long way to go here in these tomorrow in the final. Ideally, we, manage to qualify for Europe again next season. I know this season, if we're looking sort of likely that we'll finish 7th unless Wolves get past us. I believe that gets us into Conference League, and that's something. It's it's not nothing. It's not great, but it's not nothing. Yeah, it'd be great if he stayed for another season. But again, when he's ready to go, he can go anywhere. He's going to go when he goes. That's all there is.
I told somebody that today that there's only 2 ways that he leaves this summer. In my head, and I fully admit that I could be completely wrong. You're talking about money that I will never see in my life, or understand the vast amount of wealth that these clubs have to purchase players and also pay players.
Yeah.
In my head, there are only 2 ways this works. If City can bring in Haaland and Fernandinho leaves, and Pep honestly sees Rice as the person to fulfill that Fernandinho role. If that doesn't work, the only other way that he leaves our club is if Chelsea's new owner, whoever that may be,
right,
has the money that they really want to splash on a player, and they want to bring in Rice.
Yeah.
Outside of that, he's not going to go to Manchester United because I think that it's too much of a shit show of a club.
Why would he want a lateral move?
Right. Exactly. It is literally a lateral move. Yeah.
I love saying that to Manchester United fans. It's just pure bliss.
I mean, they're not. Let's put it this way: Declan Rice is not going to go to a club that's not in Champions League. He wouldn't leave to do that, and they're not going to be in Champions League. So yeah, no reason.
And then the only other clubs that I can think of, he's not going to go to Spurs for obvious reasons, because I think that, not that he wouldn't want to play for Spurs, I just don't think they would fork out the money that we want.
We're not going to take a bid from Spurs unless it's like crazy higher than.
We're not
if all bids are even, we're not going to sell to Spurs.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to rule anything out because I think that football is a really. See, I don't necessarily agree with that.
I'm not. See, I have to say, I don't know if I do either, and the reason is, I know he's best friends with Mason Mount, but Chelsea rejected him.
That's also literally the only thing that people say. He's friends with Mason Mount. Like I'm friends with people. I don't want to go work with them. Like
yeah.
He wants to go to whoever's going to support him and help his growth and honestly win trophies. Yeah. I don't necessarily know if that's Chelsea. We'll see what happens. But that club is in so much fucking turmoil. There's no way that we know exactly what they're going to be able to do.
He may end up there. He may, but
he could.
But as far as his desire, I don't think anybody knows what he wants. He's 22 years old. He's got a whole lot of money. He's a world-class footballer, and quite frankly, he seems to be enjoying himself where he is.
Say hi, Lee.
Hey, Embry.
You say hi to the boys.
Say
hi. Good girl.
Oh, there she said hi. She said hi.
Can you blow them a kiss?
You want to blow him a kiss? Oh, good girl.
Oh, hi, baby girl. Hi, baby girl.
Is it time for bed? You go to bed?
That's why I was late. I had to get mine in bed.
My wife's putting my boys down tonight, so yeah, I understand how that goes.
Good night, baby.
Yeah, I understand how that goes. Oh, thank you for bringing her on. MB always brightens up the show.
It's funny. I feel like after we narrowly avoided relegation, I was like, cool, that was fun. Like, I hope Rice stays one more season. And
Yeah,
then
me too.
after he scored
Yeah.
that goal against Southampton, I was like, all right, just one more season. And now I'm like sitting here, and I'm like, I just want one more.
That's how I feel. Every season we hang on to him, every appearance he makes for us is almost like a bonus to me at this point. And then, another thing, and yes, I did see this too. That Holozek from Sparta Prague. Daniel Kretinsky is still the chairman of Sparta Prague, and he's now a second biggest shareholder in West Ham after David Sullivan. So there's talk that that we could get Holozek on loan. This is interesting to me too, because
if he comes, he's going to get injured in the first week and never play for us again.
That's true, Casey. You're absolutely right. I don't even know why we're bothering to talk about it. But you guys, this group here, you got to think about the implications for Pulisic playing for West Ham. All of a sudden, a lot of Americans are going to be buying West Ham shirts.
It's cool from a marketing perspective. I mean, that's the only.
It is. I mean, it would be a big deal for us in this country because, there haven't been a lot of Americans who played for West Ham. There've been a few, but very few that were really high profile.
Johnny Specs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Jonathan Spector, if you go back, 12, 13 years, and Steve Potts, but he really was not like.
He was English.
That's what I'm saying. He was only American. Yeah, he wasn't really American,
I mean, I know he's hurt. Give me Reina or Weston McKennie if you're going to do U.S. men's national team players.
Weston McKennie would help us more.
McKennie would help us more. Yeah, I have a thing against the Reina. I never liked Claudio Reina to begin with, so I'm an anti-Reina person. I hate to say, but Pulisic from a marketing perspective here in the U.S. would be, would be huge actually for West Ham.
We don't need marketing because we're going to be in a new show that's coming out, or a show that's coming up soon, and it's going to be, one of the main characters.
I could not be looking more forward to Ted Lasso.
I don't want to give away what's going on, but I think that's either going to piss a lot. We're going to get so many fans from that. It's going to be nauseating.
Listen, it doesn't matter whether we're evil or not. It doesn't. That's not the point. The point is a whole, from what I can tell anyway, a whole season dedicated to West Ham on a show that is the only view a lot of Americans have of English football. That's all they know about it is Ted Lasso. That's it. And we're going to be, it doesn't matter if we're evil, if we win, lose. That's not the point. The point is West Ham United is going to be front and center for probably 8 to 10 episodes of a huge show about English football. And that's gigantic for us. And when the season ended last season, I was beside myself with joy.
I literally saw a guy in the airport with a Richmond Greyhounds jersey on.
I've seen a few. I have seen Richmond shirts. I get shout outs now when I wear West Ham shirts around. I was in downtown Boston a few weeks ago. I mentioned this last week, and I got a come on you irons from across the courtyard by the Old North Church, and I had people talking to me in shops and stuff like that. And it's just going to continue with Ted Lasso. Yes, I love Ted Lasso. I think it's a brilliant show. I do. I think it's fantastic. It's the reason we got Apple TV, actually. It's the only reason we got it.
It's pretty interesting, too, because the ownership situation for West Ham on Ted Lasso, very realistic. And the fact that Spurs went out to a championship side in an FA Cup semifinal,
very realistic. I know.
So good job.
So Kieran, I mean, just to give you a brief synopsis, so there was an ad campaign on NBC Sports 8 or 10 years ago, or maybe not that long ago. Anyway, whenever NBC got the rights to the Premier League.
Describing this makes it sound absolutely batshit
it's
crazy.
It's gonna sound horrible, but please give it a try. Okay?
Just give it a watch. Yeah.
So
I did have somebody come at me about like a West Ham kit, and they like joked about Richmond, and I was like, "Don't come at me with a fictional program."
Oh, I don't mind. I'd be thrilled if people say that to me, and I'm like, yes, absolutely. I'm absolutely thrilled beyond belief that we're going to be part of it.
It is interesting though, because I don't think I've ever. I had one time in the U.S. I ran into a West Ham fan, and it was when I was working at the South Shore Plaza in Braintree, which you'll know, Lee.
I know.
And I went to get food, and some guy just saw me in like a West Ham hoodie and was like, it was the day of the last game at the Bowlin, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a season ticket holder," and I'm like, "Why are you here?" And he goes, "Yeah, it really sucks. My wife, planned this trip." And so
that
was the only time I've run into another West Ham. But now, like recently, I've had people like Like I had somebody yell irons at me from across the street in Portsmouth, New Hampshire a few weeks ago.
That's what I'm
surprised
saying.
Me.
Well, I met my friend Nick. I told you guys. Nick's been on the show. It's been a while, but I met my friend Nick who lives in Lowell. He had a West Ham sticker on the back of his van, and I guess we used the same mechanic. And I picked my car up from the mechanic, and there's this van with the West Ham sticker on the back, and I left him a note on his windshield, put it up under the windshield wiper, and I was like, hey, check out the show, and send it my email, and we've watched games together. So stuff like that is starting to happen. But I mean, to give you a brief rundown of Ted Lasso, so NBC Sports bought the rights to the Premier League in the U.S. Must be 7 or 8 years ago, and they did this series of commercials with Jason Sudeikis, the actor. He was on. What's he been on? He was on Saturday Night Live for a long time. He was on 30 Rock. Anyway, and he was this American coach of manager, I should say, American manager of Tottenham. He played a role as the American manager of Tottenham, and he did these funny commercials where he was a football coach, American football coach, college football coach, and he got hired by Tottenham as a manager, and he knew nothing about English football. He knew nothing about soccer, say it for differentiation purposes. He knew nothing about soccer. He only knew about American football. And he coached like an American football coach. And it was a funny series of commercials, and it really did pretty well. And then 2-3 years ago, Apple TV picked up this idea and made it a TV series where he's a college football coach from Kansas, which is where my wife is from. That's one reason she likes the show. And he actually is from Kansas, Jason Sudeikis. So he's a college football coach from Kansas. And they bring in this club that's kind of in turmoil at the bottom of the Premier League, brings him over, basically because the owner of the club is a woman who gets divorced, and she gets the club in the divorce, and she hates her ex-husband and she wants to embarrass him, and he's a huge supporter of the club, so she brings this American coach who knows nothing to embarrass him, but he turns out to be this sort of lovable figure, and you got to believe me when I say the description doesn't do it justice. It's a great show. It's a great show.
If you want to combine it, it's the plot of the movie the quintessential movie of the 90s, Major League.
Yes.
With Charlie Sheen.
Yes.
Meets
All
Fish Out of
things.
Water story. I don't really know how to put it, but
absolutely. But
literally because it came out the first year we've all been in the pandemic. And everyone felt like shit. And it was it literally is the only TV show I've ever watched that made me feel happy. Like you leave it and you're just like, I am just happy. His character is magnetic. And when I first watched it, I thought this has got to be garbage. But in fact, it's absolutely fantastic. It's so well written. It's so brilliantly done. He's a tremendous actor. The whole cast is tremendous. I just love it. And you cheer for him and you want to root for him. And there we go. So these are okay. Scott was sending the links to the Ted Lasso commercials. You know what? I will. If you guys are really curious, it's just like a hit of dopamine.
It is. It's funny, but it's kind. And here, these are the commercials. I'll drop this. Don't go watching them right now. Go to this link later on. But that's
users just drop off by 75%.
I was going to say, but the commercials don't do the show justice at all. But you get an idea of the character. The show is much better. Anyway, I've got Transfer News. Wayne Rooney is asking a lot of questions about our players coming to West Ham. I don't know.
Yes, Erling Haaland and Jude Bellingham are both coming
this
to West
really
Ham.
Unlikely to be.
We're going to pay both of them £500,000 a year. Or £500,000 a week, and we will become the greatest team. Yeah, no, it's essentially we're basically playing Football Manager with real life.
All of these seem pretty unlikely, so I do appreciate your visiting and watching, but I got to say that I'm going to have to dismiss most of these without much discussion.
Tevez is going to come. He's going to go do. He's going to go do some.
This is a good question. I don't know. Nobody ever talks about this. The show is pretty authentic. They use real Premier League clubs, real Championship clubs, real personalities, referees, even some players. This is a good question. Did he have the coaching badges? I don't see how he could have. Anyway, yeah, I don't see how he could have. But yeah, anyway, it's good. It's really good. I want to throw something out to you guys. We talk about this a lot. if we go out tomorrow, and we might, because it is a big hill to climb, how will you feel about our season? Let's say we manage a 7th place finish. Now, let's say we don't. Let's say we finish 8th, out of Europe, and we go out in the Europa League semifinal. What's your assessment of the season at that point? Wolves go past us, and tomorrow's the end of the European adventure, and we finish 8th, and that's it. How do you think we've done?
If Wolves pass us, I may be found roaming a street somewhere. Right, their running is harder than ours.
And they're badly out of form too.
Yeah, so I'm not looking. I think we finished 7th, but if we finish 7th and Leicester win the Conference League, we're still out of Europe.
I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure that's. Are you sure? I've read both.
The Athletic had that, which usually they're pretty good for all that sort of stuff. They had a good rundown of it. So yeah, if Leicester win Conference League, there will be it'll be 3 teams in Europa League actually from the Premier League. So it'll be probably Spurs in 5th, United in 6th, which they pretty much sewed up this weekend, unfortunately, and Leicester, and then 7th will be nothing.
Okay, but who would that means nobody in the Conference League at all?
Yeah. That was they specifically called out that scenario in the article I read as if Leicester wins the Conference League, then nobody from the Premier League's in the Conference League. I would love to be in the Conference League. Like I just want I want Thursday nights again.
I thought the competition's been great.
Yeah.
I'm thoroughly enjoyed watching those games.
Yeah.
I listen, I mean, people go on about the League Cup and they go on about the Conference League. I would love a League Cup, and I would take the Conference League in a heartbeat. I mean,
we just hired a guy in my office who's a Leicester fan, and so I feel bad, but I'm definitely gonna have to root against them because I want.
I'd literally stab someone with a popsicle stick if I could watch us win a trophy.
Well, listen, I mean, we have a chance at Europa League, as we know, but Conference League is one that, yeah, we could win that. You know, we could legitimately win that. And the clubs that are in Conference League, I mean, I know there are some smaller clubs, but Leicester are up against Roma at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't it Roma and Leicester? That's not a small club.
Jose
Roma.
Mourinho and Roma.
Right, that's a big club. There's no shame in that. It's Europe. I mean, I would take any sort of trophy. I would absolutely take a European trophy, and I would take the Conference League. So I guess we have to. So if we don't, let's put it this way: we don't make Europe and we go out in the semifinal. What's your assessment of the season?
So I'll just, for me, before the season, I said 8th or better, and make it into the knockout rounds of Europa. I'd consider a real good season.
Yeah.
So if we finish 7th or 8th, I'm going to be happy with that. It's the manner in which we finish 7th or 8th that'll be disappointing. Limping through the end of it.
Yep.
And same thing with Europa. So, like at this point, anything. Once they beat Sevilla, I was kind of like, well, anything's a bonus from here. And
That's
now it's like you're in the semifinal, you're only down 1 goal in the second leg. Yeah. But it'll still be the same thing. What'll be disappointing is the manner in which they go out, because all of it's a very winnable competition right now for West Ham. Leipzig's the best team left, and they're definitely, I think they're better than West Ham, but that's still incredibly winnable right now, and anything can happen in kind of a knockout game. So it will be disappointing if they go out for that reason, because this feels like such a rare opportunity. It feels like in the Europa League semifinal, there is always a club that got knocked out of the Champions League, which I guess there would be with Leipzig, but it's still, it feels like there's always
But there's no Manchester United, there's no Barcelona, there's no mega club, and usually there's a mega club that's floating around down there in the semifinals or in the final, and that's not the case this season. With all due respect to Frankfurt, Leipzig, and Rangers have mega support, but in terms of being a powerful European club, there's not one of those left.
I like NH Hammer. It's also the West Ham way. It reminds me of having 42 points and still getting relegated.
West Ham, right? Relegated on 42 points. Everything we've done, nothing could be more West Ham. I'm glad you brought this up, Kieran, because the reason I asked this question was I went back and I did a little homework for this show, and I counted the number of times West Ham have finished in the top 8 in English football. Now, I'm talking about in the top flight of English football, okay? Not in second division or whatever. 125, 126 seasons, however many it's been now, since, going back to Thames Ironworks. top 8 finishes in the top flight of English football. 13. I counted 13. Now I might have miscounted by 1 or 2 because I'm not great at math. 13 times we finished in the top 8 of English football in 125 years. That's not a lot. All right, we look good to finish at least 8th. Frankly, we could tank and finish below that, but I mean, I don't think it's a big stretch to say that 8th is a realistic floor for us this season. 13 times we finished in the top 8 of English football. And only one time have we done it back to back. That was 1998 and 99 when Harry Redknapp was manager, and we had guys like Trevor Sinclair and Paolo Di Canio and people like that. Hopefully Scott will come back. So all I'm saying is 13 times period. Only twice, 2 seasons in a row, or only one time, 2 seasons in a row, and that's what we'd have this season. And of course, we've only gone to, if you count Intertoto Cup in 1999, we've only gone to 3 European semifinals. There was 1965 and 76, and then Intertoto, which is a little bit of a different thing because there were 3 winners of it. But you're talking about history on 2 levels here this season that I think if you have a sense of history, you have to think that even if the season ends in a disappointing way, it has in no way been a bad season. I mean,
exactly. That's the thing.
No, but
you can't look at it that way.
But you have to take it into context of you're right, and again, I have to talk about this from my own personal view. I've been doing this for 17 years.
Yes.
And again, I'm not talking about this like I've been here longer than anybody else. I don't care about any of that shit. But I'm like,
I know, I understand that. Yeah.
It's because we are creatures of recency bias. It will make the season. It will end the season on a low.
Yeah. And
there's no way getting around that, right? It's like, yes, I could sit here and compare it. The best day of my sporting life as an entire, a sports fan of any team. I've been a Hornets fan since I was a kid.
Oof.
I've been a Panthers fan since 1995. I've been a UNC fan since I was a kid.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah, that's all I got. It's the only thing I can really point to give me any sort of joy in life. Yeah. But the best season in my life of watching West Ham United was 2016.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was the highs of watching players that we literally were watching one of the 3 or 4 or 5 best players on the entire planet play for us, which had never seen before.
A genuine Ballon d'Or finalist, a legitimate Ballon d'Or finalist. Yes, correct. Yeah.
The single greatest sporting moment in my life isn't watching UNC win a championship or anything like that. It was watching us win the 2012 playoff final.
Oh,
that was
the playoff final. Yes,
the single greatest moment in my sporting life.
Yeah.
So I would argue that I'm the same way with Scott. I would, if we end up 8th without European, worst case scenario, without European football, I will possibly feel dead inside for at least a week where I'm just like, well, then what the hell is the point? I understand what the point was. I understand that we did well. I understand that we haven't had back-to-back finishes since the late 90s under Redknapp.
Yeah.
Before that, never again. It's just, there's such promise. And I think the other thing about us as a club, which is extremely frustrating, is that in 2016, had we had reinforcements in January, in 2018, had we had reinforcements in January, or 2019, this year, had we had reinforcements in January, there are all of these things that we can just look back and be like, well, shit, we could have done better.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
And I mostly blame the owners for that. And I know a lot of people blame Moyes for this January, and Moyes does have to take some responsibility. I totally agree.
I do now. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to say this one last thing before we do whatever.
Go ahead.
I always blame the owners first. 100%. I don't trust them. I haven't trusted them in a very long time. But at this point, because Moyes has said openly and stated multiple times that he chose not to purchase players, that he chose that we did not need, not that we didn't need them, but we couldn't get value. He has then taken it upon himself to the nth degree, to where now I have to blame him for January because he wants that responsibility, which is totally fine. It may not be true, but I have to do it.
I listen. You make total sense. Total sense, Casey, and I think everybody. It's a lot of people feel the same way. The only caveat I would throw in there is, first of all, these owners lie all the time,
Mhm.
and they may have told him he had the money and then not provided it. Secondly, I think Moyes has been somebody who has been willing to take the heat for these owners because he's needed this job to get his career turned back around. The guy was damaged goods after Manchester United. His career was dying, and our Gold, Silver, and Brady reluctantly brought him in. He kept us up. They didn't renew his contract. They needed him again because he was cheap and available. He came in again, and he's been very successful ever since. My biggest fear, believe it or not, is that Moyes is going to walk in the summer. Is that he's going to say, you know what, this is bullshit. You didn't support me. I took bullets for you, and you still didn't support me. And that's my biggest fear is he's going to walk because I think he's the best manager we've had in many years, at least since Harry Redknapp. So,
hopefully I don't think he'll walk, but I would say, I always my bragging the last few years has been around the fact that when they brought Moyes in the first time, I said if he could deliver what he did for Everton, that'll constitute the best years I've ever spent as a West Ham fan. And it's kind of the same thing here. He's in the end, he's delivering on pretty much the same sort of standard of play, standard of success that he did at Everton. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, I'd love to push up. I'd love to be a big club, but I'm okay with it. Like, I'm okay with this kind of being that bubble top 4 club and, making some noise in Europe from time to
I'm not sure we have that much of a choice. I mean, I would,
we don't have oil money. So it's not like we're not going to buy those players. They're not going to, unless this guy Kretschke or whatever turns out to have some, like, even he's not wealthy enough to be one of those big spenders.
He's not an oil billionaire. He's not even close.
Yeah.
He's a lot richer than I am. I think he's worth something like £4 billion. But Newcastle's owners, what are they worth? Like 100 billion.
Well, I mean, they're worth the Saudi government. So
it's the Saudi government. It's the Saudi government. They're worth 10 times what Manchester City's owners are worth. I mean, it's
really
outrageous.
Really quick, I just want to give another shout out to NH Hammer. Go Devils.
Well, if
that's my only success was seeing the Devils win when I was in middle school and high school. Other than that, I've never seen a team I like win anything. So Europa League would be great.
There's three things that stand out in my mind in terms of favorite victories. Of course, I went to TCU, as you guys know. It's where I graduated from college. I went there in the 90s when our football team was kind of lousy. So when we won the Rose Bowl in 2011, the 2010 season, January 1st, 2011, we won the Rose Bowl, went undefeated, finished number 2 or 3 in the country. I went to the Rose Bowl. That was definitely the best sporting moment of my life, mainly because I was there, I have to say. Rose Bowl. After that, it's the Bruins winning the Stanley Cup in 2011, which has happened 6 months later, by the way. And then, of course, the playoff final is the other one. The playoff final was the third one. Now, the Patriots have won Super Bowls and stuff like that in the time I've lived in Boston, and that's been nice. But no. But I'm just saying the playoff final is up there in my 3 greatest sports moments of all time, and that's very high, because again, it was not something I was able to directly be a part of. I mean, I didn't go to any of the Bruins games in 2011, but I was living here. I went to the Rose Bowl. Playoff final happened a long way off, and yet it felt very personal. And again, the really funny thing is, and I mentioned this last week, or maybe I mentioned it when I was talking to Nick the other day. We had the Rose Bowl on January 1st, 2011. Bruins won the Stanley Cup 6 months later. What do you think happened in between? West Ham got relegated. West Ham went down. Ruined the whole thing.
That was miserable too. I remember that. I remember watching that last game against Wigan.
The last game against Wigan where we were leading, and we ended up losing. There was a game against I think it was Villa, where we gave up a late goal. I think we dropped all 3 points in that one. I mean, it wasn't just that we finished bottom of the table. It was the way we did it. We did it dramatically. It wasn't like Norwich, where they've been bottom the whole season. Like we had our heads above water there for a little while. Yeah. And then Scott Parker got injured in the last few weeks of the season. We just tanked, and but we could have stayed up theoretically, and even the last game of the season. But couldn't beat Wigan. It was awful. So I had my two highest sports highs, and right in the middle, thank you West Ham, my lowest sports low.
Um,
All in a
so
6-month period.
I haven't
Can't
talked to y'all
remember
since
which
this.
Mets collapse was sandwiched around that.
The Mets, you know what? I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I'm a Mets fan. You know that. I've been a Mets fan my whole life. Carlos Beltran not swinging in the NLCS is probably among my lowest sports moments.
Yeah, but you get to celebrate Bobby Bonilla Day every year.
Yeah, I get reminded
that's
of it.
sweet.
Get reminded of it every
Yeah, I
week.
get a million
Yeah.
messages like as
I
if
get
the Bobby
messages.
Bonilla thing didn't allow them to draft David. Oh, we don't need. This isn't a
We
Mets
don't. It's too
podcast, but
much. It's too much.
there's quite a bit there. That was a good.
Yes.
That was a good decision by the Mets. To do
I
that.
get Bobby Bonilla Day messages every year. Okay, fine. Enjoy your million, Bobby. But yeah, the Mets are in a lot of ways the West Ham.
Shit, I would. I'd enjoy his cool million every year.
Yeah, I would too. The Mets in a lot of ways are the West Ham of baseball. So I sort of I relate. As a fan.
Because I haven't been here since then. Well, one, I want to say, Gary, I may have met you in Charlotte. That is definitely possible. I've been there a few times.
Sorry, I don't know.
But I didn't say this. I actually got to see West Ham win for the first time in almost 17 years. I was at the Chelsea game in December.
Oh, were you really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, when Arthur's cross went into the top of the net.
The first game I've been going to West Ham since March of 2010, and that's the first game I saw us win.
See, I got lucky because Ken and I, N.H. Hammer and I, went to a game in February of 2010, and West Ham beat Birmingham 2-0. That was in a relegation battle, of course, and that was a night. It was a Tuesday night game. It was a weeknight game. It was a fantastic game. Alessandro Diamanti, great free kick right at the stroke of halftime to open the scoring.
I saw Diamanti score in my first game as well. We lost 2-1 to Bolton.
Bolton. Oh my! When did we not lose to Bolton?
Exactly.
Oh, the Brighton, Bolton, Burnley, the Bees, Blackburn was another one years ago. The Bees, we could never keep up with the Bees. Absolutely miserable trying to play the B clubs. Yes, Bolton was always like that. Yeah, so James is here. It's good to see James. So, I mean, I guess my point is,
That's fine. I finally got to go to a win this season too.
Who'd you see?
I saw the Villa game.
Nice.
Well, I've been to two, so my only other one was February 2015. I saw them play Man United, and that was Kouyaté scored beautiful goal, and then they gave up the equalizer in the 94th minute.
Oh, of course.
So
that goes without saying.
Villa at home or away? Because I don't remember.
Villa at home, the one where Yarmolenko scored.
Oh, yeah. No, that was great.
Two friends with me who it turned them into fans.
So it was a game, Matt. I didn't know you were at that game.
Yeah, it was a blast.
That was a great game.
I know.
That was a few months ago.
Because when you make all the effort and everything, you psych yourself up. You're like, all right, we're not guaranteed to win. Maybe it's a draw, maybe it's a loss. But so it's cool when you actually get to, with all the work it takes to get over to see a game. It's cool when they win. And yeah, that was a fun one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'll get over again one of these days. I'll take the boys over to see a game. When I do, I have to. Well, it's hard with West Ham because you want to say I'd like to see a game we're going to win, so you want to take us to see somebody at the bottom of the table. But those are the kind we don't ever win.
I felt good about. I actually picked out the Villa game specifically with that in mind. When we were trying to, because we were planning to go before the pandemic. Same group of people, and then that was going to be the Wolves game. And then that was the first one. I think that
was the first one that got canceled. Yes, that's right.
So
it was.
We had to use our frequent flyer mile, whatever it was, the airline credit. We had to use it by the end of April. So I specifically picked the Villa game because I was like, well, they're a team even when we play poorly against them, we usually get a draw. So
Lee and I were talking about that before we came on air because I have two tickets I had tickets to the Euros, England and Scotland, and England and Croatia, and I have to use those tickets before the end of the year, or I lose my money.
That sucks.
Yeah. Oh yes. Well, I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell it right now. But we'll tell it one of these days. We did have a little bit of a run-in with a pretty legitimate Millwall skinhead in a pub, and it was Ken knew what to do. I didn't know what to do, but anyway, that was enlightening. But let's And Gary went to Villa and Sevilla. That's very cool. That both, I mean, two
That is-
fantastic games we've seen at home. Tottenham didn't go so well, but those other two were great games. All right, so let's talk about what you guys think is going to happen tomorrow. Let's get some predictions before we go. I don't know. I don't know where to start. Casey, what do you think is going to happen?
I'm going to be optimistic and go 2-0.
Really?
Just because there's no other choice. Like it's either I'm a miserable prick for the next like 24 hours. So
I'm afraid I'm going to be no matter what. Yeah.
Just to set the scene, me and my missus have our final walkthrough of the venue for our wedding tomorrow. And that is at 3:00, which will be around the start of the second half of the game.
Yes.
And I've told her, and it led to a very uncomfortable discussion. She loves West Ham United, by the way, is at this point a diehard fan. But I told her, I was like, if we go into the second half and we're like 1-0 up, or it's 1-1 or whatever it is, you don't want me there because I will be distracted.
Of course.
And so I think she's gotten on board with me just staying at home.
It's really for her anyway. You know how
I agree.
I've done 2 weddings. Okay, I've been married twice. Not got divorced in between, but I've done 2 weddings, and the wedding is mostly for the bride. It is.
Well, and my whole thing was that, like, if you go, you're going to tell them what you want. I'm going to be like, I'm going to have a headphone in listening to what the hell's going on if this is close.
Right.
Now, if we're up 5-0 in the first half, then I'm fine. I'll go and just call it a day. And then I'll get home and realize we ended 6-5, and then we just got screwed. But I'm going to be positive. I'm going to say
like Manchester City today. Yeah.
It's madness, the entire thing. But I told my friend who's a huge City supporter and has been for a long time, I was like, you can't give up 2 pens in a 2-leg game and expect to win.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there were some kind of dodgy refereeing decisions, but at the same time,
today was rough.
That was the first one, or the one in extra time. I don't think was a pen. But real quick, could you imagine? Like, I just was thinking about this today. Like, the only way I ever thought in my life I'd see West Ham play Real Madrid was if we like conned them into sending a C team to the Betway Cup or something like that. But that's an actual I know it's crazy. Like, obviously a lot has to happen, but it's kind of crazy.
But it's possible that we could beat them
in the Super Cup. It would be
Super Cup. Yes, no,
like it's an actual possibility to see that in my lifetime.
It's 3 games away from happening. 2 of ours and 1 of theirs. It's 3 games away from happening.
I don't know if you remember this, but it is kind of insane that in my lifetime we have loaned a player to Real Madrid. So
and it was the legendary the French
Julien
guy,
Faubert.
Faubert, thank you. I'm going to forget his name. The legendary Julien Faubert, who fell asleep on the touchline as waiting to.
He says he didn't, but I disagree.
He did. There's video of it. It's out there somewhere. No, Julien Faubert.
It's hilarious.
No, Julien Faubert fell asleep on the touchline when
he was just looking down. He was,
No, he was. There was no.
Gary, the guy wasn't Spanish. There's no way in hell he was Spanish.
The dude was like, he was bobbing up and down. No, man, he fell asleep. He was never all that good for us anyway.
As long as it's not the ref from the first leg of Lyon tomorrow. If it is, I'm gonna just.
It's not. I don't think it is. I don't remember who the ref is.
The Dutch guy.
Because the refereeing in the Europa League has been really good. Like, it's that leg aside, it's been very good.
Generally, it's been excellent.
Why can't the Premier League be that good?
Premier League has terrible refs, and it makes you wonder about bias and corruption in the Premier League. But that's a whole other show.
So 2-0. 2-0 is my
Okay,
overall.
Sorry, we got sidetracked.
No, it's okay. So the ref is a Dutch national with a Turkish name, and he has given some insane amount of something like 136 cards in 37 games this season or something.
That's not good.
It's nuts. It's bonkers. So, no, I don't think they're Spanish guy. I'm pretty sure this is a Dutch guy, unless it's changed. Ended up playing Indonesia. Yeah. It's about his level. All right. So what do you think, Matt?
It was really fun this weekend, by the way, that we got to have one more little Mike Dean smug fest.
I don't. Why did you want to talk about Arsenal?
I know.
It
was stupid.
We didn't. I mean,
I will just say, okay, I'll jump into my prediction. Every time I've come onto this show and made a prediction, I've been wrong. But so I just want to, maybe if I throw in that caveat, it like reverses it. But I just have a weird feeling about 3-1. To be honest with you, it just seems like history repeating itself. But we'll see.
Well, it would be. It would be. Everybody said, is he really Spanish? I could have sworn I read he was Dutch. But anyway, yes, he does like the card. He
Likes
cards.
to card. That's not a good sign
No, it's
for
true.
us at all.
I read a statistic. It's something like 135 cards in 37 games or something like that. It's like 5 a game. It's crazy, or 4 or 5 a game. I was so confident last week on this show that we would win, that I actually picked us to win, and I thought we'd win and win relatively easily. Not out of disrespect to Eintracht, but because I thought playing at home, we would, to use a hackneyed old phrase, we'd rise to the occasion. Well, that didn't happen. And I've got to say, I just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Eintracht have not played well at home, but they haven't been losing. They've been drawing, and all they have to do is draw.
I just want a good performance. If they put in a good performance, like they put in a great performance in the first leg. They should have won.
I know.
It's just if they put in another good performance, just let everything go where it goes. That's, I don't know.
Eintracht have gotten draw after draw after draw at home. They haven't won at home since Christmas, or they think they've won once since Christmas at home. Anyway, I'm talking about in 5 months they've won one game at home. I think it was back in March that they won a game.
The official team is all Spanish.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
Yeah.
What is the referee's name?
Jesus Gil Manzano.
Oh, it's a totally different guy then. Okay, maybe the Dutch. Okay, I had read it.
Assistant referee Diego Barbero, Angel Navedo, fourth official Jose Maria Sanchez, VAR Alejandro Hernandez, assistant VAR Juan Martinez.
Okay, so
Munera.
Everybody was right. They're all Spanish. Now I read that the ref loves to give a card, but then again, I thought it was a different guy, so maybe I've got the wrong person altogether. I don't know. Anyway, so they're all Spanish. Well, I had read it was a different name altogether. So but that's good to hear. We'll go.
This is from the official West Ham site. So
no. I believe you. No, everybody's saying Spanish, and I'm everybody's saying Spanish. So they're definitely Spanish. Gary was right. I was so confident last week, and I'll tell you what I really fear, and what I genuinely think is going to happen. I think we're going to draw like 1-1. I think we're going to lose this tie on an away draw. It may be. I think
we've just played well away. We played well away in Sevilla. We played well away in Leon.
Just give me a good performance. That's what I want. And yes, Collison is he's the Atlanta United 2 coach.
He's the manager of the reserve team. Yep. He's been in Atlanta for a couple of years. Good guy. Really good guy.
I think all the like MLS 2 sides play against like Seacoast United up here, and I think they have a team that plays in that league.
USL, aren't they in USL, most of them? And there's several USL divisions, although there's no promotion relegation, so it doesn't really matter. But
not to MLS, but I think within the other.
No, there's not. There's no promotion relegation within any of them.
Oh, that's dumb then.
Yeah, but USL has a team. Seacoast has a team up there in.
I'm pretty sure Seacoast has a team.
But I don't know if they play at that level, because there's like 3 levels or 4 levels of USL.
I'm sidetracking us now. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Jesus is our ref. He loves to hang a cross in there.
It's too bad Easter was a few weeks ago. That's a real shame.
No, that just means we'd win 3 days later.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Antonio could definitely lift a boulder.
Antonio, Antonio could, if he'd snap his hamstrings doing it though. That's the problem.
No,
this is the mid-90s. He would definitely be an American Gladiator.
Oh, he'd absolutely. Oh man, what a great show that was! By the way,
I could see Antonio being the kind of guy that lifts with his back, and that would be unfortunate.
I can see Antonio. Well, listen, give him credit. He's played a lot and he's been healthy, and I know he hasn't scored a lot. I know he scored against Frankfurt, but I know he hasn't scored a lot lately. But his performances, especially in the Europa League, have actually, I think, been really good.
No, they have been good. He just hasn't. Yeah, he just looks like he's in his own head with finishing.
Exactly, but he got the goal last Thursday, and I hope. And there is, there is something to be said about how they have to close this out. Eintracht, they have to close this out. Really, I mean, they are coming in with all the momentum. They're coming in back home with a lead. the pressure really is on them in a lot of ways. I mean, in front of their home fans, they've had a little bit of a disappointing season in the league. They haven't won a lot at home. Yes, maybe. I would. I mean, for many reasons, I would love to win this game beyond just West Ham having a chance to win a trophy. I've not been impressed with what I've seen from on-track fans. But I just fear it's going to finish like 1-1. I really do. It's just a fear that I
haven't
have.
been impressed with what I've seen with our fans. Apparently, we ripped the headset off of too damn. Whatever. Two reporters.
Just gives everybody an opportunity to pull up their, same old West Ham fans talking points. Which is
I mean, at the end of the day, there's assholes everywhere, and I think that one, you have games on a Thursday night that are late, probably attracts not the greatest individuals on the planet. There's a lot of cocaine in London.
I've been reading about this. Yes, there's a lot. Yeah. I mean,
5 years ago, it took me 6 hours from landing off a plane to asking someone to ask me if I want to do blow in the bathroom. So I can attest to the fact I didn't do it because it's not really my bag. But
no, I understand that. Yeah.
But it's quite rampant at this point. And when you're dealing with late night games, you're dealing with assholes in a whole other level, and people that are on a whole different planet. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are asshole supporters everywhere.
I mean,
especially if you go to a game in Foxborough, New England, you'll see a lot of them.
People don't understand. No, you're right. Actually, Matt, you're right. No.
Tom Brady was white. It's okay.
I know you, but seriously though, I mean, I like Boston sports, but I'm not from here. I grew up in Dallas, and I do like. I've been here a long time, and I like Boston sports. But let me just say that I've some of the fans here are pretty insufferable. Yeah, they are absolutely. And I've only been to one Patriots game. Let me just put it that way. I don't break down the door to go to Patriots games, and I don't. Yeah, and I only go to the Red Sox if somebody gives me free tickets. So. It's not necessarily my scene, but I mean, I don't know what actually happened. A lot of the reputation that West Ham fans have obviously goes back to the 80s and before, and the sort of the days of hooliganism. And there have been movies and there have been books and everything else. I'm sure there are still people who want to play that role out there, but I also think that that we have a lot of just people who want to go see the football and have a good time. I don't think
that's the vast majority of people.
That's the vast majority of people in general.
Country. I mean,
yeah.
I've been to football at almost every level in England, and I've never. I saw the thing about Frankfurt. I saw the guy. I mean, the one thing I'll say is that it said 10 or 15 people attacked a pub with a lot of West Ham supporters, and that someone was slightly injured. If that's all that happened, then I think that we're okay.
I read an article that a West Ham fan needed like 15 stitches, which.
Oh, so I didn't see that. What I read was
to me, but yeah.
Yeah, what I read was like something from Reuters that was like the West Ham fan was slightly injured and needed to go to the hospital. 15 stitches isn't necessarily slightly. I wouldn't.
I mean that. So I don't. Again, this stuff comes out of the English press, and you really can't. It's hard to say how credible it is, but I did read that. I did read that somebody did 15 stitches, and that's that's an injury. That's that's a hospital stay.
I wouldn't say it's slightly.
I wouldn't call it slightly. No, I would call that a.
But I think I think Reuters was quoting the police in Germany, so maybe they were trying to underplay it a little slightly. But
probably,
ironically, slightly.
But I will say the Frankfurt fans, to be fair to our fans, they attacked our fans.
Had issues in Sevilla.
In Sevilla, right? Exactly. When Frankfurt were there to play Betis, and we were there to play Sevilla, they came after our fans when our fans were just drinking at a pub, at a cafe, not doing anything, So, I mean, it's not, the aggression thus far seems to have come from the German side, which is nothing new historically, is it really? We've been down that road before. Yeah, England's been down that road before, so you know. Anyway, all right. I know Matt, you got to go. I should probably go. So, I mean, what can I say except we'll try to be here the same time next week, and hopefully we'll be talking about the build up to a European final because that would be something that I thought I would never ever see in my life as a West Ham fan. We're already through the looking glass here, having qualified for Europa League. Not having to play Astro Gugu was already more than I thought I'd see as a West Ham fan in my life. So we've come this far, and
And I think they're getting relegated again.
they're getting relegated down to like the third division in Romania. Thank God we have levels between them and us. I don't ever want to see them again.
But y'all say thank God. That says a hell of a lot more about us than it does them.
I know it does. I know it's the same way I feel about Oxford and Wimbledon and some of these other lower level clubs that have crushed us.
I will say this: you say that about
game.
Wimbledon. I really want to go to their new ground. I really want to see it's
listen.
Their
I
new
know
version of Park Lane. I've heard great things.
Well,
about
don't the fans own the club too, which is
They
pretty
do.
awesome.
Yeah,
so it's
to some degree.
Yeah. I mean,
they
that's
just
awesome.
they just
You
got
want more of
relegated.
that.
They're going back down to League Two, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They just got relegated out of League One, which is a shame because I actually followed their results because I like the fact that the fans started a club from nothing. Literally, we're down in the lowest Sunday league levels of football you can get in England, and they came all the way up into, they had a couple of seasons in League One, and now they're back in League Two. But in general, that's a massive, accomplishment to get to that level.
Exeter City is one of the teams taking their place in League One, and they are also a fan-owned club.
Nice.
I like that. I do. I like that. I like the fan-owned clubs. I think lower league football is actually super entertaining, and we don't get. I'd love to see more of it, but it's not easy to get over here. Anyway, yeah. So as I said, I don't know what if we have a schedule on here for the rest of the week or not. If there's a post-game match, I'm in a post-match show tomorrow. I have no idea what's going on. Okay, with the Bear Gamers TV, but keep your yes, thank you, Kieran. Yes, please do hit the like button. I appreciate that. Keep your notifications on when we get on. You can hear the bell go off and you can come watch us, and we really appreciate it. I'm gonna throw my link out one more time for my buddy in the Gambia. If you guys are are willing, my young friend who has started West Ham United the Gambia with a bunch of kids ages 7 to 15. He's coaching, and he's trying to coach them in the West Ham way and get a club going over there in one of the poorest places in the world. So if you are so moved, please give us a little bit of a donation there. We've provided a lot of stuff for him. We want to provide a lot more. And other than that, yeah, I mean, what can I say until next week, except one of the biggest matches in the club's history tomorrow. No big deal. Come on, you
might be a therapy session next week. Might not be.
I was going to say, it's either going to be, I'll tell you what, there's going to be booze involved, okay? But will it be happy booze or sad booze? That's the question. That's what you know what I mean? It's either going to be fun drinking or it's going to be like the meme with, is it Paul Gascoigne in the meme? Is that him where he's like just anyway. It's either going to be fun.
What movie is that? Are those happy tissues?
This reference
tissues?
to ski. Oh,
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's either going to be happy drinks or sad drinks. We'll find out. All right. Anyway, until next week. Come on, you Irons.
Thank you.